Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, classmate. I will discuss Chapter 6, Documentation of the Crime Scene. Learning objectives. At the end of this chapter, the students will be able to enumerate and explain the three methods of documenting a crime scene. Enumerate and explain the ranges of photographs to be captured in the crime scene. Next is identify the methods of photographing the crime scene. Identify the sequential photographs to be taken in the crime scene. Enumerate the essential items to be included during note-taking. Enumerate the information to be included in the crime scene sketch. Identify the types of methods of sketching. So, a crime scene can be defined as the location as which an offense was committed and where the potential evidence of what crime may exist. This may include a home, automobile, or remote location in the woods. So, we know that a crime scene is the location of what offense was committed, and it include the potential evidence of what crime may exist, and makabalot kung asa na dapit, pwede siya sa balay, sa building, or sa mga remote area, and in the vehicle. So next is, there are three common methods of documenting a crime scene, namely note-taking, sketching, and photography. So this is most important in documenting the crime scene, the note-taking, sketching, and photography. A detailed record of the crime scene and of the actions taken during the search can help the investigator to accurately recall events and to identify items of evidence later in court of law. The note-taking, sketches made, and photographs captured during the search of evidence also serve a valuable reference concerning the details uncovered during the search. Next is photographing the crime scene. The purpose of the crime scene photograph is to give a documented record of the scene, and it observes the photograph should begin taking photographs of the scene as soon as possible upon arriving on the area. This will assure that the scene is depicted as it is observed in its original uninterrupted state. Nothing should be touched, moved, or initiated into the scene until it has been truly photographed and documented. So the photographing is very important in the documentation of the crime scene because photographs it accurately. The investigator should recall all the things that she shot, and it is important that all the physical evidence or evidence must be uninterrupted. Next is, the goal is to record useful information in a series of photographs, which will enable the viewer to understand where and how the crime was committed. The crime scene not only refers to the immediate locality in which the crime took place immediately before or after the crime scene was committed. Next is, photographs of the broad area of the crime scene should be supplemented by closer shots of section containing important detail. Each area or object should be photographed so that it can be located readily in the overall features, which will enable the viewer to gain a clear concept of its position with reference to other objects of the scene. Next is the ranges of photographs. An important aspect to consider regarding the various range of photographs, it is general point of view established by the camera location. This location will enable the viewer of pictures to orient the crime scene in its logical manner. So there are three ranges of photographs. First is the general view or long range view, medium view or mid range, close up view range. So the general view or long range photographs of the overall scene are fundamentally taken to portray the areas as if a person viewing the scene is seeing it from the standing position. To obtain the result, the photographer takes the photograph with camera and the eye level. So the purpose of the general view or the long range, mo siya importante kayo pag take of pictures because all of the all of the crime scene is nakuha jud siya, and mo siyang importante mag-include din siya sa mga victim of the crime scene. Next is the medium view or mid-range. Medium view or mid-range photographs are taken in a manner which portrays the scene of approximately 10 to 20 feet of distance from subject matter in order that the viewer be permitted to associate the crime scene with separate areas of the scene photograph. These areas should contain sufficient detail to permit the viewer this association. So, taking of medium or mid-range, it should be shot in 10 to 20 feet approximately distance from the subject matter. So next is the close-up view range. Close-up view range photographs are normally taken approximately 5 feet or less from the subject matter. The attention of close-up photograph is directed to the objects which could not effectively seen in the long range and mid-range. Photographs take necessary extreme close-up shot of the subject to show the extent of damage. So, the most important in the ranges of photograph is the close-up view or range because it is shot in a approximately 5 feet or less. The region nakafocus ang mga pagpicture sa mga physical evidence and the victim, the wound of the victim. And next is the methods of photographing the crime scene. There are two general methods of photographing the crime scene. First is the overlapping method and the progressive method. The overlapping method, the photographing method of taking a series of photographs in a circular or clockwise direction, overlapping each other slightly to show the entire crime scene. If a single photograph cannot show the entire crime scene, apply this method. The progressive method, a photographic method of taking crime scene photographs starting from fixed point, photographing each piece of evidence from general to specific as the photographer moves toward it and progressively getting closer. So, sequential photograph of the crime scene. Each has individual features that should be photographed. Keep in mind the nature of the offense and try to show those features that establish the elements of the offense. The following photograph should be taken. First is the view of the exterior of the building vehicle with relation to other buildings, vehicles, roads, streets, etc. Point of entry, outside and inside. Point of exit, outside and inside. Condition of the crime scene. Area which valuable articles were removed. Articles left at the crime scene. Trace evidence such as hair, fibers, and cigarette butts. Tool marker and impression of shoes or tire tracks. Fingerprints and footprints as well as articles on which these prints may be found. Specific situation instances to be photographed in the crime scene is discussed in further detail in the next chapter. Should operating procedures in photographs the crime scene. The PNP's forensic photographers follow the basic rules for the crime scene operation or scene of the crime operation or SOCO and field laboratory work FLW. First is photographs the entire scene or general view to include nearby surroundings pertinent to the case, indicating the case number, time, date, and initial of the photographer. Next is take the overlapping shot of the immediate scene from 4 different angles. Next is photograph the entrance and exit of the crime scene. Photograph the body of the victim, suspect, showing the exact location, direction, which where it tends. Alter, remove the body. Take a photograph of the crime scene with the white outline to indicate the place where the victim was lying. Next is take close-up photograph of the body showing face for proper identification. Take mid-range or close-up photograph of all piece of evidence found at the crime scene with a measuring tool or scale if necessary, including the case number, date, and initial of the photographer. Take close-up photographs of the bullet hole if there is any, and photograph the area showing the appropriate distance of fire by making a straight line on the direction of the bullet hole. Next is the crime scene should be sketched in the presence of the investigator or the other authorized person. The investigator should sign the raw sketch to attend the authenticity of the crime scene sketch, record on the photographic logbook, the weather condition, type of the lens, film, and camera used. Next is negative and photographs should be placed in a plastic holder and put inside a white mailing envelope with proper case identification such as case number, time, and date before filing in the steel cabinet. And issuance to release of photographic evidence. A written request to the Director Crime Laboratory is required from the investigating units having jurisdiction over the case prior to the release issuance of photograph evidence. Upon receipt of the approved request, photographs and other photographic evidence should be released within the minimum period of 1 day. Likewise, requests for court presentation should be attended without delay. Forensic photographer suspended by court should personally print the negatives as soon as possible and prepare materials, photo logs, and crime scene sketch for court presentation. So, moto siya ang rules of issuance of releasing photographic evidence. Next is note-taking. Note-taking, the investigator photographer's note are personal records of the search of evidence. The objective of note-taking at the crime scene is to make detailed note that remain fully meaningfully even months after the event. Oftentimes, a note that is completely clear to writer a short time after being made later become unintelligible. So note-taking is very important in documenting a crime scene because it is include the story of the crime scene and to para ka na ma-remember sa investigator kung saan yung mga ma-reconstruct niya ang crime scene. Next is the essential items of information to be included during a note-taking. So, date, times, and location. The date and time of the investigator assignment to the case should be noted. Include also the exact time of arrival, the exact location of the crime scene, light, weather, condition, names of any officer conducted, and names of other person on the crime scene. Detailed description of the victim and her clothing. The name, age, height, weight, complexion, and color of hair and eyes of the victim needed to be included in the notes. Outer garments worn by the victim should be described in terms of types of garments and color. Wounds of the victim has received, the exact location of the wound or injury, its type, size, and the case of the bruise, its color need to be included in the notes. A general description of the crime scene. The investigator should note any damage to items, any apparent disturbance of the normal arrangement of furniture or the other objects, and the presence of objects that seem unusual in the context of the scene. Next is type of camera and film used in photographing the crime scene. As each photograph is taken, a note should be made that includes the f-stop of the camera, shutter speed, distance, focus direction in which the camera was focused, flash unit used, objects or camera photograph, and the time that the photograph was taken. The disposition of the film, the location that it was sent for processing should be also noted. Discovery of each significant item of evidence, including her or description of the items, the time it was discovered, by whom, the exact place of its discovery, how it marked was the type of container it was placed, in how the container was sealed and marked, and the description of the item after it was collected. Next is the failure to locate items. Note, the absence of items that would normally be assisted with the crime being investigated. There are of the crime scene or items missing from deceased victims, such as of clothing that could not be located at the scene of the crime scene. So, photographer's note, the case number, type of case, location, date, time received the call, time leave base, time arrive, invest on case, victim, witness, film use, number of camera use, weather condition, chain of custody items, photograph, time leave the crime scene, team composition. So, muna siya ang photographer's note. Crime scene sketching. The final phase in documenting the scene is making a crime scene sketch. The drawback of the photographs is that they are two-dimensional representation of three-dimensional object. As the result, most photographs can distort the spatial relationship of photographs objects, causing items to appear closer together or farther apart than they actually are. If spatial relationship of evidence are important, or if something needs to have proportional measurement included in it for calculations such as bullet trajectory, angles, accidents, reconstruction, etc., then a sketch must be made of the crime scene. So, crime scene sketching, ang crime scene sketching kay dapat buhaton ni siya sa crime scene jud mismo para ma-construct jud siya og tarong. And photographs alone are not sufficient for adequate regarding crime scene. A crime scene sketch will complement the photographs and notes made during the crime scene search. The purpose of the sketch is to portray the information accurately, not necessarily as artistically. It is not required that the crime scene sketch have any artistic ability in order to construct the adequate sketch of the crime scene. Crime scene sketchers clarify the appearance of the scene and make it easier comprehend. So, ang crime scene sketching is dili siya necessary na ma-portray yun nimo siya o kaning madrawing yun nimo siya kaning artistically kaning okay lang siya kanang dili kaning pa. Ang purpose na sa crime scene sketching is kaning i-portray lang nimo ang lugar sa crime scene or sa location. Next is use a measurement table for evidence in your sketch. The table is adaptable to any coordinate system, say triangulation, rectangular baseline, or even radial. This table map may help in reminding you to measure the height, which is frequently overlooked, eliminating needless measurement lines until read confusion by marking your sketch look cleaner. Intended the walls, you can use corners for triangulation. You are not limited to two reference points. Note the above relationship measurement. This measurement cannot accurately be made on the scale drawing at the latter time. So, this is the example of crime scene sketch. It includes the bed, receiving room, and the victim. And the legend is the victim, 5 bullet, bloodstain, single chair, sofa, music rack, dining table, hanging kitchen utensils pile, bed dresser, main door, bedroom, fired bullet, bloodstains, and the case number, nature of case, time, date of occurrence, location, requesting party, invest on case, sketch by and completed. So, mao to siya ang crime scene. And next is the elevation of drawing of rectangulation. Mo siya ang example sa sketch of rectangulation method. And next is the cross projection exploded sketch. Mo siya ang example sa cross projection. And the photo log form, the Republic of the Philippines, National Police Commission, National Headquarters Philippines, National Police Crime Laboratory. So, mo siya ang example, report, SOCO report, scene of the crime scene examination worksheet, specimen in tires, photographs taken. And next is the information to be included in sketch. The sketch should be include at least the following information: the crime scene sketches, full name of the assignment, the date, time, crime classification, and case number, the full name of any person who assists in taking measurement, address of the crime scene, its position in the building, landmark, and compass direction, the scale of the drawing of scale, if scale drawing has been made. Next is the major discernible items of physical evidence and the critical features of the crime scene. The location of such items is indicated by accurate measurement from at least 2 fixed points or by other discussed below. The measurement shown on sketch should be as accurate as possible, as they need to be made and record uniformly. Steel tapes are the best means of taking measurements. It is difficult to explain an erroneous measurement on drawing and can introduce doubt in minds of others as to the competence of the entire search of the crime scene. So, steel tapes is a very accurate measurement tool daw. Next is type of sketch. Type of sketch is, there are 2 types of sketch: raw sketch, smooth sketch. A raw sketch is drawn freehand by a sketcher at the crime scene. Change should not be made to it after the sketcher has left the scene. The sketch will not normally be drawn to scale but will indicate accurate distance, dimension, and relative proportion. So, ang raw sketch ay ginahimo niya ang raw sketch sa crime scene mismo. Pangit siya na pagka-drawing pero nag-include ni siya rin ang accurate distance of and dimension of the physical evidence. And the smooth sketch is one of the finished and frequently drawn to scale from the information provided in the raw sketch. If a sketch is drawn to scale, the number concerning the distance can be eliminated. However, if the sketch is not drawn to scale, the distance needed to be shown. So, ang smooth sketch, mo ni siya ang gipagwapo lang niya o kaning gipagwapo lang niya ang sketch, ang drawing, na yara gyapong gikuha kay raw sketch, yarang gipa evolve na arong makita sa investigator kung asa jud nakabutang ang mga physical evidence. And smooth sketch is mao siya ang ginadala sa court presentation. Methods of sketching: coordinate method and triangulation method and cross projection method. The coordinate method measure the distance of an object from 2 fixed points. One of this method use a baseline which is drawn between 2 known points. The baseline could be a wall or drawn a mathematical center of room, the exact dimension of which are known. The measurement of the given objects are 10 taken from left to the right along the baseline to a point at right angles to the object which is to be plotted. The distance will be indicated in the legend with a number of parentheses following the name of the subject. Triangulation method. The triangulation method is useful in an outdoor situation where there are no easily identifiable edges of roads or field to use as a reference points. Two or more reference points are located and should be widely separated if possible. Item of interest is located by measuring along a straight line from the reference point. Cross projection method. The cross projection method is useful which the items on location of interest are on the wall surface as well else where enclosed space, the walls, windows, doors in a cross projection sketch are drawn as through the walls had been folded flat or the floor, then sketch is drawn of the measurement from the given point on the floor of the wall. General rule of sketching. So there was a general rule of sketching. Decide what is to be sketched. Number 2 is indicate the direction of the compass. Number 3 is locate objects exactly and represent distance between them accurately. Number 4 is include only the essential. Number 5 is corrections should be made while in the area. Number 6 is draw the scale and indicate them. Number 7 is identify all objects in sketch. Number 8 is position of the camera on the sketch where photographs were taken. Number 9 is the time, date, weather condition, degree of light, witness, persons making sketch. And the review question. What are the 3 methods of documenting a crime scene? What are the ranges of photographs to be captured in the crime scene? What are the methods of photographing the crime scene? What are the sequential photographs to be taken in the crime scene? What are the essential items to be included during note-taking? What information should be included in the crime scene sketch? What are the types of methods of sketching? So, and that would be all of the chapter 6, moms, and thank you for listening. Thank you.